Alright, coming to you today with a new project. So, a buddy of mine, Tony, has been getting a bunch of these kits offline, and he's been begging me to help him build some of these kits. And I don't really have enough time, and honestly nothing really excited me that he was getting until he came across this kit. So, this kit was really kind of exciting to me. So I said, yeah, I'll do this one, and I actually ended up buying it off of him because I want to do enough to this kit that I just didn't want to be rushed. Wanted to take my time with it and just have fun building it. So I'm gonna let you guys guess for a second what this might be. But this is going to be a very similar fuselage length to the Slick. The Slick's like 67, this is somewhere around 67 inches. The weight's going to be a little bit more, but it's going to be very similar to the Slick. The real difference is the wing length. The wing length on this is almost 9 feet. It's 105 inches. It's a high wing plane. So, as you can see here, it's a Bud Nosen model. So these were developed somewhere in the 70s to build from, and I'll get into it more, but basically this ends up being kind of like a short kit. There's a lot of just bulk stock balsa in that box that has to be whittled and glued and made to fit. So here it is. It's a Bud Nosen Citabria. So this one's going to be really pretty cool. It's a quarter scale Citabria. The kit comes with some actual blueprints from the 70s, a bunch of just balsa wood, and a couple of sheets of just type text of what you're supposed to do. So it's pretty basic. It really needs a builder to put it together. You're really deciphering off of the plans what the design is. But of course I can't do anything by plan, so I really want to modernize this kit by doing a number of different things. The wings stuff that's here, it calls for these dowel rods over here and some aluminum tubing over here for the wings to go in. And so I'm trying to keep it lightweight, so I'm going to switch all that out for carbon fiber. Currently the aluminum tubing and the dowel rods fit pretty loose. They're off by like a 1/16 of an inch, and I really didn't like this huge wing being so sloppy. So I'm switching out to carbon fiber and going to tighten that up to within a 32 of an inch, if not a little bit more. So that'll be really nice. I'm not going to go crazy in a total redesign of this, but I do want to do a couple of major things to it that I think will make it a lot nicer. Like this kit actually calls for, I don't know if I can actually find it, but right here it actually calls for a bell crank. So you got wooden dowel rods to here, bell crank to aileron. So gonna switch that out to have the wing servo mounted. And I haven't fully decided, but I think I'm gonna mount it under a hatch so it's hidden. Do a little bit more scale work on it. This actually calls for a push-pull rod from the center of the fuselage all the way back to the rudder with a wooden dowel to control the rudder and the elevator. So I'm going to switch that out to a pull system for the rudder. I think that'll be just a lot nicer. It might save me a little bit of weight, it might not. And then the elevator, I haven't fully decided if I'm going to leave it as a push-pull from the center of the fuselage, or if I'm going to mount the elevator servo at the tail. And that decision is going to be based on where my CG ends up. So if I need more weight in the tail, I'll move the servo out there. if I need more weight in the nose, I'll move the servo up towards the center of gravity and eliminate that weight. It calls for a couple of different things that I thought was kind of odd, but it's got dual servos for the elevator and a single servo for the ailerons. So the ailerons go to one servo mounted in the center of the wing using push-pull rods and bell cranks, but the elevator is actually split in half with two servos, one for each half. So I'm going to make it more like the slick. I'm going to join the halves of the elevator and put that on one servo and move the aileron servos out to in the wings and make that actually two servos, one per aileron. A lot of guys on here have done some modifications to the fuse and did a pilot's door that actually looks pretty cool. I haven't fully decided on that because of one of the other things I want to do to this kit. So up here in the center, you've got all these ribs and other balsa and stuff here in the center. But on the scale plane, this is actually a great big window. So the pilot can look up when he's doing loops and rolls and see the ground. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount these as carbon fiber. They should be a lot stiffer, and that'll let me clean out the center section and put a big window in it. Be a little more scale. I think that'll look pretty cool. I just got to decide if this rib here is going to be necessary to hold the wing. But I think with the carbon fiber, it's going to be stiff enough that I can clean out the center section and get it down to just the tubing. I want to update this to an electric setup. I've done the weights on it. It'll save me about 1 pound if I don't have to do liquid fuel in it. So using the same power system as the slick, it comes in about 2.5 pounds with the battery and the speed control and the motor. The gas motor that this, well, not really the one that this calls for. This actually calls for a really low weight motor. It's between a 60 and a 90 two-stroke nitro motor. But a lot of guys put in the Quadra 38 or 42 to give them a little bit more power. And that motor comes in about 2.5 pounds. So when you add liquid fuel to that and a few other things, I should be able to actually come out a little bit lighter and more to what the kit was designed around by doing an electric setup. So I'm going to do electric setup. I think I'm going to have the windshield and the top of the cowl come off for mounting the battery, making that a lot more convenient. And I thought maybe a pilot's door would actually help with that, but we'll see as we get closer to that. But I do really want to make this thing lightweight. So if I can get this down to what the kit calls for, which I don't know if it's here or not. Yeah, 10.5 pounds is what the original weight called for. So if I'm in that range, the power setup for the slick is going to be ballistic on this. So the slick is a little under 9.5 pounds now, and it'll go flat vertical. So if I can get similar power out of this with that weight, I should have a lot of pull on this plane. So it'll make it fun for flying around aerobatic, and I can also power it back if I want to do any kind of scale aerobatics and just show off what the scale plane will do. But the thing that I'm most excited about modifying on this is the ailerons. So with a flat bottom wing, see if that, yeah, so here's the flat bottom wing that the scale plane calls for. With a flat bottom wing, when you do the ailerons, you get a different lift ratio if it's going up or down, if it's going with lift or against lift. So you have to do a differential on your ailerons. What they did with the scale plane is they did something that was actually really pretty cool. in that they made an aileron that when it went up, it actually scooped wind from the bottom of the wing and made the effective area of the aileron larger. So with the same movement, you didn't have to do differential, and it would stay axial instead of doing more of like a barrel roll when you need that differential. So it works out that if you look at this aileron, about right in here is where they pinned the aileron on the scale airplane, and they did this 45 kind of scoop at the leading edge, and that scoop, when it rotated, it actually put that scoop below the bottom of the wing and actually made some of that wind come over the top. And then when it went down, it closed it off and it only had the area that was on the bottom. So that actually is really intriguing to me. So I'm going to really try to make that work out. I'm going to do a carbon fiber rod through the center for my pinning. That should give me some really good stiffness. And then I'll pin it through the extra ribs here on the edge. But if I can get that to work out and get enough stiffness, that's going to be really, really cool. A really great scale feature. So, I mean, I am super excited about trying to get this thing up and going and modernize it while trying to keep it light and make it aerobatic and scale at the same time. So this is going to be a good fun project. It's going to be a long project. So this is A&A that built the kits for Bud Nosen. Were infamous for doing die smashed kits, not die cut but die smashed. I mean, you can see some of these parts are the dies just weren't super sharp. And don't get me wrong, this kit's actually not too bad. There are some kits that are just absolutely horrible in the smashing. So there's going to be a lot of cleanup of parts. Like, I've looked at this, as you can see, that peak is not in the center of that board. So that elevator would not really be built correctly. So I've got to decide if I'm going to move that peak or not. All kinds of stuff, like the rounding edges are blunted at the end, so you can kind of get this glued into place, but then you have to reshape the tail to get it to transition smoothly. So like I said, this is kind of a short kit, but it's going to be a lot of work to actually get it together, but it should be a fun one. I'm going to take my time, try to really do some cool things to it, modernize it, while still keeping the spirit of the original plane. I do want to add some lights to it, so I'm going to have to try to figure out how to get some channel tubing out here to do some lights. The Citabria actually had really small lights, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, just do some LEDs out here and get them mixed in. So stay tuned, this one will be fun, but yeah, this one will definitely take a little bit to get it built. Here in Florida, we don't really have a build season because we have a lot of flying season, so we'll see how it goes, see if life can calm down on me, and I can get some time to spend on it. But stay tuned, this one will be fun. See ya.